Hey everybody, welcome back to Earworm. We missed everybody. Um, Zach and I this week we're going to talk about a concert that the YMZ went to, and I was unaware of. A little bit of a surprise, but a cool episode because we like talking about concerts that we went to, and we're going to go to a bunch more this year. Hopefully, Zach, to put on your list. Let's go together, you bastard. But we have jobs that kind of, particularize our duties, if you will. Zach, let everybody know, where did you go? Was it last Saturday?
Saturday night, we went to a little Goo Goo Dolls and Dashboard Confessional down at
Dashboard
the man.
confessional. There you go.
Little little birthday present for the old lady. Um,
Love her.
and yeah, it was a happy little accident there because I know them, but I don't know their songs by name. So when I was I was listening to them a little bit going into it. And then obviously when you get down there, you hear it. So you hear the songs and it's kind of like, oh, I know that song, but don't know it by name. You know what I mean? So it's one of those bands that I wouldn't call myself a fan, but when I hear them, like the sound is what I'm looking for. I love their sound. It's like upbeat kind of rock sound, you know what I mean? So
So,
it's a great sound, but I'm not a fan by association, I
okay.
guess.
So you're
Um,
speaking as to the Goo Goo Dolls or Dashboard
Goo Goo Dolls,
Confessional?
yes.
Okay. Because
It's
Dashboard Confessional opened up for Goo Goo Dolls, correct?
yes.
Okay, cool.
Dashboard Confessional opened up for Goo Goo Dolls and going into that point, so it was probably a 4 hour show, let's call it,
Wow, really?
give or take. Well, with all the crap in the middle and, setting up and whatever. But there was a point where Dashboard Confessional and the Goo Goo Dolls bled into each other. So there was a good hour or so there where I was like, is this one song? Is this the same band? Is this you know what I mean? Like it sounded the same. Like I really like the sound, but just if it's not so Goo Goo Dolls, if it's not their hit songs, I feel like they should stick to like covers where they started, right? They
Oh
started
yeah,
with cover songs.
they absolutely started cover songs in like the late 80s, early 90s, and in Buffalo, New York. That was their jam. And the amount of bands that the Goo Goo Dolls opened up for is amazing in my world. I think I'm more of a punk guy than you are, YMZ, Zach. Um,
Yeah, different era of punk, I guess.
they
Punk
opened
has
up.
changed over the years,
Oh, absolutely. Dude, they
right?
opened up for Gangrene. Do you even know who Gangrene is?
Not a
Exactly. They
not a
opened up
clue.
they opened up for Zach. You and I talked about some things earlier. Dude, they opened up for Bad Religion.
Sure, boys.
Yeah,
Your boys.
my favorite band of all time. So, they're pretty impressive. So, talk to me, man. You said when you and I were discussing about our episode today, there was a bunch of songs, correct me if I'm wrong, that you're like you knew, but you had no idea what the hell the name of them were. Name is probably their biggest song anyway. That's kind of funny, ironically.
Yeah, so Slide. I, I haven't heard it. Like I don't play them. Like I said, I'm not a fan, so I don't play their music.
Why don't you
So
slide? Why
why
don't you
don't I
slide?
slide? Like that's a perfect example. Like that song, I know that song. Once you play it, I know it. But I wouldn't know that by name. It's one of those bands that I know a lot of their music, but I don't know like anybody's name in the band, anybody or any song name except Iris. You know what I mean? Like everybody knows Iris. But it's one of those bands where I don't know them by name because they're just kind of in passing for me. So it was a happy accident where Kate was like, I want to do this for my birthday. So done. We're in.
Boom.
I
Absolutely.
didn't pick it. It wasn't my choice for a concert, but it worked out, man. I was really impressed because I looked back into it. These guys are close to 60 years old. And when
Dude,
I looked at
they're older than me, dude.
when I looked at them on stage, I was okay. I'm glad you said that because when I looked at them on stage, I was like, wow, they look younger than Tim. But no, this dude looked like a fucking heartthrob. Like he looked like a old or late 20s, early 30s guy. I was a little bit up in the stands, but he was bopping around on the stage like he was just doing his thing. I was really impressed with that after I looked up how old they were.
Dude, Johnny Resnick you're talking about, right?
I think yeah,
He's the lead singer, the guitarist for
current
Goo Goo.
one because they've bopped around a little bit, right?
Yeah, Johnny, they're a trio. There's been two
So
of them
those
that
three have always been in it.
there's been two of them that's always been in it, and then the third one has changed a bunch.
Okay.
So it's Johnny Resnick, Robbie Takak, or Takak, or whatever you want to call it. It's funny because they're in Buffalo, New York, and very Eastern European portion of the United States. I mean, you could tell by their last names and such. And then they started out with a drummer who they all both of them went to high school with. And then they got
Yeah.
into, they went into a royalties issue with the drummer, and then that's why he left because everybody was sharing the royalties in reference to their songs for like their first four albums, and then they got signed by a Warner Brothers side I don't know what you would call it, side company, Metal
Like,
Blade. It's called Metal Blade.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and they got a bunch of trouble with them, and then all of a sudden this song came out and the drummer was like, "Hey man, yeah, I was getting all the royalties," and it turned out that he didn't, and then everything started going sideways, and so he left. But um my biggest takeaway, again, I'm going back to it, is it's what's funny is like Kate, go ahead, sir.
Hold on. Hold on. I want to get this fucker in the room. Hold on. All right. He's locked in with me. You
So
were on
the
Kate.
yeah, yeah. So Kate brought you to this, and my biggest takeaway, and we talked about the concert because, I mean, um, eh, eh, you said that you recognize so many songs, and then like I'm older than you, so like Goo Goo Dolls was so pervasive in like the early to mid to late '90s. They were in so many movies. So my question for you is, like all these songs that were played by them, like do you sit there and just like think of movies when you're like a little kid and stuff? Like did anything pop up, man? Like I'm jealous at the end of the
So
day.
not so much like movies from like my personal
Okay.
like memory bank, but like when I was listening to it, it was like, oh, this would fit in One Tree Hill. Like this would fit in any of those 90s like I don't know what they're called, but the 90s like kind of the Chad Michael Murray's in it. It's like any of those like it would fit into, but it's that sound. That sound is so good, but when you go through their like their Apple Music or their you listen to
Amazon, yeah, Amazon Prime,
Amazon,
yeah.
you listen to an album, it kind of sounds like the guitar is just doing the same note the entire album, and then everything else changes. But then they have a couple more hits in there. So that's what I mean when like a concert, if they were to do their couple hits and then cover some other stuff, that would be perfect. Like I got lost in this concert. There was like an hour or so where Dashboard Confessional and Goo Goo Dolls just like bled into each other. So it was, I don't, it may just be because I'm not a huge fan of them, but I don't know what, I don't know. So I talked to Kate, and she was like, I get that, but she enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed it, but I don't know. There was something in there that was like there needs to be a little shake up in the show. They were just too similar.
It's funny that you asked that because I mean, or actually, you stated that because I asked Tom, one of our first guests on our show, about. I mean, is there something that stood out? Like, I love the Man Music Center, and you were there. It sounds like you were in the seats. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Wasn't in the seats, but so for Teddy Swims, I was off to the side. I couldn't see the stage at all. So it was just like it was like we talked about for Creed. It's like if you want to experience the show, get a seat. But if you're going to a Dave Matthews concert where you just want to listen to the show and drink and have fun, sit on the grass. Who cares?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's one of those venues. So for Teddy Swims, I would have loved to see him, but we were just so off to the side and in the back that we didn't really get the experience. Like for Creed, same thing. I didn't see the stage. I was just looking at a screen. So it was different. This, I actually saw them and I got to see them perform. And like I said earlier, they're pushing 60 and the way they were moving around the stage, I was like really impressed. He looked like a 30-year-old guy up there. Like it just added to the experience. And the ticket machines worked, so I didn't have to wait an hour and a half to get in. So
Right
that
on.
that made it a
Yeah,
little better.
that display there, that area there at the Man Music Center is actually pretty good.
Dude,
Uh,
it's underrated. Yeah,
I
I think
know.
that's so much better than the one in Camden just because of that
Oh,
view.
but
Just
have
because of
you?
that view. Oh,
I got I got a question for you, buddy. We're sticking right with our freaking earworm, right with music and everything. Have you seen a show at the backstage at the Man?
I saw a Mayday parade there.
Ah, man, I
You
love
ever
it.
heard of them? Hold on, wait. You ever heard of them?
Absolutely, have heard of Mayday Parade.
Oh, wow.
Come
Okay.
on, dude. Who are you
Okay.
talking to? Who's
Oh,
I'm your partner for a specific reason, you weirdo.
bang.
I saw, huh? What'd you say?
Not a bang.
At a babe, at a babe. I saw Hosier at the backstage. I saw The Descendants. I saw Rise Against at the backstage. That is awesome. I spoke with our first guest that we had on our show, Tom Lavelle, and he said the Man Music Center is his favorite venue in Philadelphia. He said that to me, and I didn't even prompt it. It might
It's,
be,
I agree with that. Like, I don't know. So it's all about how you get in there. Like, if you park in the right spot, and again, the ticket scanners aren't broken and they have enough places to get in, it's fantastic. Like once you get in there, you're sitting there in the seats, you're looking at a screen or a band, whatever you prefer, and then you turn to the right and the skyline's there and it's just open it. Dude, the Man is phenomenal.
oh, it's
It's such a
amazing.
great venue.
It's
And they
awesome.
do so much stuff there. Like they do these kind of shows, they do like Black Panther orchestra.
Yeah,
Like they do so much there. They really use that place. And like when you walk around there, you see all the statues, like the really old statues and the like the fountains everywhere, the fences and stuff. You know it's old school and it wasn't built for what they use it for now,
yeah,
but they they realized they could take on like Goo Goo Dolls and Teddy Swims and stuff like that.
yeah.
But they didn't alter the look of it. So it's got
Mm.
this old school look, and it really like when you walk in there, it's kind of like refreshing. It's not this new kind of high tech place. It's like they got wood and like wood. bearing or whatever. It's so cool looking.
To be a cynic, if you're like to show somebody a video of like where you're standing or sitting in the stands and like show the skyline and the Schuylkill River and the trees and everything, and somebody was from like I don't know Chicago or like Dallas and something like that, and they'd be like, "That's not Philly." You're like, "Hell yeah, it's Philly. That's freaking Philly, yo."
Yeah, it separates like there's pockets of this area where you go into and you don't feel like you're in Philadelphia, the city. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like the Man is one of them. The Ace Club, I'll always
Oh,
call it that. The Ace Club is one of them. Like there's these pockets that just stick out around here, and that's one of them.
yeah,
It's just a special place, man.
dude. World, world,
Like I said
world,
earlier,
world.
Camden is
Oh my
different.
goodness, yeah.
Camden's different. It's
But that's,
you
you know what?
feel that like
I got an argument with you. That is freaking Philly, yo. Like that might be over the Schuylkill River, Delaware
that
River, like
feels
whatever.
more like Philly. Yes.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
this, it's the Man. You go to the Man, it's just like, where am I?
Dude,
It's just so different. It's so cool.
yeah. I mean that's why I'm still freaking living here. I mean, I lived all over the world like so many different times in my life, but dude, World Cafe. Like you go down on freaking Chestnut Street and like, well, I'm gonna park below the road and like the river's right there and I'm gonna walk up. I'm gonna go see freaking I saw dude, Rise there. Like, holy moly, like come on. Like that's what's cool about this community. And plus, were you in the seats? You said you were in the seats?
I wasn't in I was right
Oh,
behind the seats. So I was
okay.
in the grass, but like it wasn't up enough where you couldn't see it. Like I was kind of blocked out by that overhang.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to walk
Yeah,
across the bridge to go get to that overhang. It's an opera setup. It's an old school setup. What are you going to complain about that? But I was kind of blocked out by that. But I was like Teddy Swims, I was way over to the side, like couldn't see shit. I was looking at screens and like just bopping around looking at skyscrapers. So it was a different experience. But that's I guess again the point I have to make. It depends on if you really want to see the person, get there early, get a seat, experience it. But these two, we didn't really prep for, or I guess care enough about to get there super early to get down in the seats or like that close. But this time was better than Teddy Swims. We actually saw something.
I in so you and I both residents of this area. I love the man. I've seen so many shows. I've seen shows over, it's been about almost 40 years. I'd say 35 years I've seen shows at the man now. I saw In Excess there. I saw New Order at the man. Like that's how old I am. But like it's just it's that sort of experience is what this, with all due respect, YMZ, our show is about. Like it gets that like soulful, like, oh my gosh, this is like you were saying to me, and I'm gonna bring it up again. All these songs that like Dashboard Confessional or Goo Goo Dolls had, and you're like, you've heard them and you know them, and you're like, but you couldn't actually list the name of the song.
Couldn't tell you the name of it, no. But so I feel like Dashboard Confessional. I know that name, but I'm
Yeah.
struggling to find the song that I know from them. I don't know if it's a weird movie that I heard it in or something, but I can't find the. But so when I'm looking through um Goo Goo Dolls set list, so they've really spaced it out like really well. So number, let's see, 5 was Black Balloon. And
Oh,
then you go,
it's not the bad, the black balloon. Yeah, yeah.
and then you kind of go to 7, Nothing Lasts Forever. 11 was Sympathy. 17 was Better Days. And then they finished with Iris, obviously. So they spaced it out enough, but it was those like middle in between those songs that you knew where I was like, am I listening to Dashboard Confessional again? Am I listening to who is this? I'm just kind of bored. I feel like I'm just shitting on concert reviews the last like two or three, but I was lost. I was lost in the sound for a little bit. I don't know what it was. It was not a good mix, I guess. When I go back to Creed, it was Daughtry and Creed. Daughtry is a little heavier, and then Creed is back to the 90s, and Daughtry is a little newer. So there's a little space out there. These two, Dashboard and Goo Goo Dolls, it's just like I was listening to the same band for 6 hours.
You know what? And I got something a question to ask of you because it's kind of like a time frame subject. It's like late 90s through the early 2000s, about 2009. So it's about 10 years, 10, 15 years. It's about when you were like probably when you were born, you freaking young bastard. And through when you're like about starting high school, it's that music. So I can understand if it wasn't like it's something you completely love because I remember like Journey was like huge when I was about your age, comparable to that like late 70s, mid 80s. I was like, oh, here we go again. So I mean, the song that stands out to me by Dashboard Confessional is Belle of the Boulevard. It's about 2009, and I like that song. And then Name from Goo Goo Dolls was so big, and I think when it came out, I was living in California. Just tell it no one knows your name. I can tell your name. Whatever it is. Um, exactly. I mean, but like it surprises the heck out of me about like both of these bands. They went more to the pop side when they got bigger. Both of them did. When they both started out, they were more on Tim's world, if you don't mind me saying that, Zach. Like the whole punk side, the like more alternative side and stuff like that. Like, dude,
That's when they were the sex maggots, right?
oh, did you hear the story of as to why they call themselves Goo Goo Dolls?
Well, because the booker didn't want to, he saw sex maggots and he was like, "No, I'm not working with this." That's what I read.
Oh yeah, they basically they were going to a show and they were playing like they were like one of like four or five bands and they're like, "What is your name?" And they were like, "Oh," and it was something happening to do with like peanuts, like Snoopy, and they're like Goo Goo Dolls, and then like boom, and it took off from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, sex maggots, Goo Goo Dolls. Which one's more promotable?
One of the takeaways in my due diligence and research in reference to today's episode was um they had an almost 4 year gap of putting out music where they weren't allowed.
Where they weren't allowed?
Warner Brothers and Metal Blade like basically owned their copyrights. And it was right around 95. And they put out like their first big album and none of them got any like money from it. And they didn't put out another album until like late like 1998. I mean, that's 3 plus years. And it
So they
made
just like they didn't get any traction, so they kind of like went back to the drawing board,
no,
or
it wasn't traction. There was like, first of all, they weren't getting any money and they weren't allowed to for legal purposes on the
because they were
music
like fighting the
about the copyright
labels.
and yeah, and so things have changed so much now. And you and I have talked about this because we want to share we want to share like music on our podcast and our guest last week, young Andy, just to remind all
Blamed
our.
us, by the way.
Yeah, he basically said, "What do you guys? You're doing a music podcast. You're not playing any music." So, and I'm sitting there, and Zach and I have been talking for Christ, it feels like more than a year about this podcast, and we're not allowed to.
Not allowed.
Copyrights. Yeah, like of course we would want to do it, but part of the reason we're doing the podcast is and Zach does a really good job editing, like showing like the albums and the names and like go nuts. Um, we're not allowed to. Like we could put it on there and broadcast it, but somebody could come back to us like, I don't know, 18 months from now and be like, you're not allowed to do that. Give us $5,000. It's not, it has nothing to do with us even earning any money. It's just like,
And
yo,
all our
you're,
views and all our money go away.
yeah, we're making so much money from this podcast. So, like, it's just to go back to young Andy saying, like, what? You guys are doing a music podcast, but you're not playing any music because we're not allowed to for copyright purposes, for goodness sakes. Uh, but
Make
did
it
you?
work, buddy.
Thank you, you dick, young Andy. To go back to it, did you enjoy the concert?
I really did, and so I don't know if that was because it wasn't my pick. Like it was Kate coming to me and saying, "This is what I want to do for my birthday." And I said, "Let's go. Let's have fun." I had a blast. I loved the music, but it was just they kind of bled into each other. And you kind of, I don't want to say you got bored, but you got lost in it between the hits. So my review, because it matters so much, change the set list a little bit if you're, or change the person you're or the group you're bringing if you're Goo Goo Dolls. Just change it up a little bit because 4 hours of just 90s rock, it's a little too much.
I'll tell you right now, and I'm gonna like, and I appreciate your feedback in reference to it because that's what we're gonna do. Because I think next week, um, OMT, let's give myself a nickname here.
Uh,
Old Ma Old Master Tim
oh,
is
Mr. Tim in the house, baby. Come on, OMT.
OMT. I'm going to a show next Friday, the 15th. You know, you can cut that out, Zach, about
Let's
dates wise.
go. He's
Yeah.
in.
I'm going to so we're gonna go see me and the horse lady are gonna go see Dropkick Murphys and Bad Religion, and we're gonna do a Bad Religion episode next week, which is my favorite band of all time. But one of the things I was so happy to hear about to express more about this, the Goo Goo Dolls, is probably one of my top favorite bands of all time. You know, Bad Religion is my favorite. Replacements, and they are a huge influence on the Goo Goo Dolls. Actually, one of the biggest hits they had before Name, Paul Westerberg, who is the songwriter, lead guitarist, lead singer of Replacements, wrote a song for a Buffalo-based band called the Goo Goo Dolls. And I just love that whole idea of it. And it's what's kind of strange to me, real quick, reference episode. I said earlier there was a huge thing going on like 95 to 98. Goo Goo Dolls didn't do anything. They weren't even touring. They weren't getting paid or anything like that. The music sound completely changed. They were opening up for Gangrene, Bad Religion, Dead Kennedys. I mean, you name all these punk bands, and all of a sudden, boom, they came out and they were like, Name, their biggest hit was like one of their first songs that came out. I can't tell no one your name. Like, everybody knows that song. This is a bunch of freaking, all those weird 90s, like,
Last couple minutes of the pod here. So you said they took a break because of
money.
legal
Yeah.
money shit. So before, I get, was it when you're talking about this, were they the sex maggots at this point?
It was before that. I mean, it was like, it was after that Sex Magic because they played in a very famous um, a very famous venue, and they're like, "What's your guys' names?" And like they looked at each other,
Okay, so
and
this is right when they changed, but then they took a break after that because of money.
oh well, so they signed. Well, they basically named themselves Goo Goo Dolls. Their drummer, who no longer is with them, named
Okay.
them that. And then all of a sudden they started opening up for all these bands. It was after they were a cover band, they started writing their own songs. Their influence,
That's what I'm getting at. So
yeah.
like before the sound was so you said the sound changed,
Yes.
came back.
It
So was
was
that because the early days was like the the corporation or the label like
that's
putting it on them and then they finally got their break and their freedom or whatever and they just ran with it?
so I said to you, like Replacements was their huge uh, influential band. The Replacements did the same thing. I mean, one of these days down the road, I'm gonna play a song when it's my week, "Beer for Breakfast." All I want to do is drink beer for breakfast by the Replacements, and that they were like this quasi like late punk band, and Goo Goo Dolls wanted to do the same damn thing, but they took all this time off, and all of a sudden the Replacements started doing these like ballads. Like they started with like a song called Skyway, and like all these. I mean, they became more popular. Goo Goo Dolls, I think, went the same way in '98 when they changed like record companies. And dude, they probably made a freaking whole buttload of money, bro. So,
The, the avenue to get there and they followed it.
wow, I know. But I mean, it wasn't like they had some sort of like plan. I think they did the same thing that their like replacements did. Paul Westerberg
No,
and the
they had that
boys.
freedom. They had the freedom to like work and do their thing, and it actually benefited them. Like
Yeah,
I'm saying, like before, it kind of sounds like while you're describing it, they were kind of held down
yeah.
or like pushed towards something else that they didn't want to be. And then they took a break and they came back and they were like, fuck it, let's do our thing.
I mean, it's a little bit of that, but also like, all right, so we made this sound, and Metal Blade, who was part of Warner Brothers, like they were litigiously like, no, we're not giving you any freaking royalties. And then all of a sudden, so I mean, it was like 3+ years where they couldn't put any music out. But
Yeah.
so they're doing what they're doing, and their biggest influence changed their kind of sound and their kind of music, and they went the same way when they went back to actually making music. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's the way I think about it.
That's really cool. It's really cool for a band to like be able to do that. I feel
I
like a
mean,
lot of bands are like held down by their label and for like them to maybe switch a label and then a label to be like, go, do your thing, we trust you.
not only label, but by their fans to a certain
Fans
extent.
too. Yes.
There,
Yeah.
there's
So
an expectation.
yes. Yeah, there's an expectation to do better, just kind not do better, but like evolve.
Yeah.
Keep getting better. And they keep getting better.
I mean, think about the band that we talked about last week with Young Andy, Metallica. I mean, Battery and all those, and all of a sudden you go to their most recent stuff, like it's a lot more melodic. I think a lot of bands do that.
Yes.
That's an episode we have to have in the future. Like, is it as you get older, you want to be more?
I feel like the word is matured. Like the band matures down the road and then they just like they start out with a sound and then they mature down the road and they find their sound. And that's
Okay,
when they blow up. And that's
okay.
like Metallica and Goo Goo Doll and all these different bands that
Replacements, yeah.
placement like they find their sound eventually, like a late bloomer kind of thing, you know?
Well, I mean, everybody, all our listeners and followers for the Earworm podcast, young Master Zachary is pointing out this is the way that people grow and eventually become us.
Say hi.
Yeah. Zach, last thoughts about the show, my friend. I found it so interesting that you're like, I can't even name you a song, but I knew them all.
I it was one of those bands. I can't name you a song, but I knew five or six. And again, I'll be picky. They need to switch up the set list, put some covers in there, put some, I don't know, but it's changed the opener, maybe. It was just, it flowed in. It all sounded the same. But when you played the hits, they, the hits. So it was a really good show. It was a fun show. It was a great night. Again, I love that sound, that early 90s happy rock sound. I love that sound. So it was a great show. The man, again, depends on how you get in there, depends on if the tickets are scanning. But the man really delivered that night. So it was a good night. It was a really good night.
Right on. Um, I appreciate that, man. So next week, to give everybody kind of a prequel, if you will, preview, um, we kind of discuss it, but we'll discuss it right now. We can share it with everybody. I'm going to a show next week on the 15th. Why don't we do your song next week?
Do my song next week.
Yeah. So I'm going to a show at the end of next week, and then our show after that, like, we can discuss that. So why don't we do your song? You
And
want
I
to
bet
give it? You want to give some breadcrumbs to our viewers, listeners?
in my head, I really have been wanting to talk about Shinedown.
Wow.
Really wanted to talk about them because he's one of those, that band is one of those that, like, the lead singer really makes the difference. I feel like you can take him and put him in any band and he could to the moon. But also the back, the instruments, all that stuff, the lyrics, the meaning to it. I think we're doing a Shinedown episode next week.
Wow. That came out of nowhere. That came out of left field, if you will. Thank you, my friend, young Master Zachary.
Big salute.
Yeah, here we go.
Set
Said hut. Talk to you next week, buddy. Thank you, my
up.
friend.
Thanks, everybody.
Peace.
See ya.